Hello and welcome to Trophic of the Cenozoic behind the scenes final project hand-in for game content creation of year one of game development art for Red River College. Anyway, here's all the code. I can't display it all at once, but you can see there's quite a lot of it. Where should I begin? Maybe I'll just do a tour around the actual game itself. Hold on. Yeah, so here's the start menu. And you select one of these three classes to play, or you could spectate. The blue things that are being left behind by all these guys running around are actually, I call them breadcrumbs, because they try not to retrace their own steps, and they can follow the breadcrumbs of other creatures as well. So they're a lot like Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs, in my opinion. So that's why I called them that in the code or blueprint scripting. So as you can see, we have a few creatures here. We have a eagle. I call it the Hiss eagle, but it's the Hispaniola eagle that was found in Cuba that they think might have expanded through maybe more of North America, potentially. We haven't found a large eagle in North America. Anyway, point is, it's a large eagle. And then we have the crocodile, which is Baryonysuchus, another animal from the Cenozoic. This is Trophic of the Cenozoic, the game in name. So every creature is from the Cenozoic. But anyway, let's choose one of these creatures. Let's pick Titanus. This is a terror bird, a giant prehistoric bird that basically pecked things to death. But it can also kick, as shown by this animation. So it can peck, it can kick, it can hop up and down and try and fly. It can do any number of these animations at the same time because I layered them properly. So let's try and eat something. We've eaten something already. Oh, it's lagging. It doesn't like all these detection spheres being rendered, I guess. Let's kill this guy. Now, if he was actually connecting with us, he would be damaging us. Our little health bar at the bottom left. Oh, okay. I got out of there. Let's find something smaller. He's probably got too much health. I'm being followed. Yes, this is the ragdoll. Sometimes they glitch out like this. And that's probably because after they die, I lower their pivot point so that they stay in one place so that you can eat them. But they also glitch through the floor if they're the wrong size. Which everything grows in size in this game. I don't know if you've noticed. But especially this Hispaniola eagle. Here I can fill up my thirst at the little pond cube over here. Yes, I'm just looking for something. Oh, here's a carcass. Each carcass lays out more food the higher the level they were when they died. But the higher level they are, the more health they have, the more attack power, the faster they are, etc. But all the stats are in place. I don't have a sleeping mechanic. That's the only thing I wish I could have done. But it would have only been a matter of time. I tried to implement everything that the game Saurian has. It was a large inspiration for this project. Except I doubt Saurian had a stats menu that you leveled up from every time you leveled up. But yeah, now I have super attack power. I'm level 19, so I'm I'm almost high enough to reproduce if I had a mate. Oh, and my mouse is come unbound. That's great. Here's the fix for it. You use the pause menu, and then you... Oh, that doesn't fix it. Oh, that fixed it. Okay. Can I have a level up, please? I can't. Oh, I get it. When the Navmesh agent flicks you up into the air, it somehow knocks your mouse out of the game. I don't know why it would do that. It's a weird bug to have. Oh, looks like I capped out at level 19. You cap out between levels 18 and 23-ish, 22. And then you can reproduce, but you reach your maximum stat potential and size potential. So without further ado, I'll show off one of the other classes. So you can... The sound slider doesn't work. I lagged out my game extremely hard, so I don't know how you would fix that. And so let's choose Brinosuchus. So Brinosuchus has the turn attack to bite something behind it in case it's being chased, and it can walk while it's doing this. And then it can bite forward, and it can eat something. So here it tosses it up into the air and then eats it. And there's also the jump animations as well. And you can do everything while jumping, just like the Turbird. And I also forgot with every creature you can slow walk. So eventually that'll be like for creeping upon creatures. Now it was extremely hard to actually fit in slow walking and walking in general because games don't like it when you scale up the player character. You'd think you could use the same speed throughout all of it, but it'll be a different speed if you're smaller versus if you're larger. And the animation should be playing faster depending on a lot of variables. So that's why it's like that. A possible fix would be if I introduced root motion, which would be the animation moving and driving the movement. And then the movement would be driven, or the animation would be driven by the character logic, which would... the one thing I wouldn't know about that is implementing a system to slowly change the walk speed over time, because obviously you don't want to go max speed right off the bat. Like, you want to have a little bit of a transition, because real things have inertia. Here we kill this horse, let's eat it. Now, I guess one of the next things I would do for this game would be to implement actual footprint tracks instead of these blue spheres. Oh, I ran out of thirst. Did you see in the bottom left? And that's what killed us. If you run out of thirst or hunger, you die. If you run out of health, you die. And if those are really the only three conditions that can heal you. But reproduction is actually flawed right now because I would have to implement characters comparing their blueprint to other blueprints in like some sort of strange array or enumeration or something like that. Now I'm starting to leave blueprints or breadcrumbs behind myself, and that's because I'm a horse, so things are gonna chase me down. Whereas if I'm a predator, people are probably gonna stay away because I can defend myself or something like to that end. Of course, you can defend yourself as a horse, but I wanted some pack mentality for the enemies. And the reason why enemies in the wild have breadcrumb trails is because they don't want to retrace their steps. So I have that implemented as the same script. I said that already probably, but that's how it is. So see, I'm refilling my thirst by drinking. This is what the drink animation looks like. And I wanted the feet to bounce off the ground while you're doing that, if you're drinking, but or while you're going forward while drinking. However, I couldn't get physical animation to work, and I couldn't get IK to work. So I spent like 2 weeks, or more like 3 weeks, trying to do that. The majority of the project, actually. I have all the code there. I copied some of it from the example files that Unreal gives you. However, I couldn't manage to do it correctly. I got some of it right, like the foot does adjust to the height of the ground beneath it. However, it pops it above your head if you are going down a slope. And then it stays like that, which is not great. And as for... oh, I also figured out how to bake an animation from an IK rig. So I guess I can do that. As in, like, I would create an IK rig in Unreal Engine. And I even figured out a possible way of baking IK rigs in Unreal Engine and using the IK as a base for walking, so you'd have foot detection or ground detection dynamically at runtime. What you do is you would bake the bones into an animation, and then you would attach the control joints that would be the formation for the IK. You would attach those control joints to the bones, and then the IK bones would drive the animation, and then the controls would fit to the ground. And because they fit to the ground while animating, they would only go through the ground, or they would only stay above the ground. They wouldn't go through the ground ever. So you'd have that, and because IK is so great in Unreal Engine 5, like I had a full IK rig that was working before I didn't mess it up. I was trying to integrate it into the system. I can show that to you now, actually, since we're sort of done with this project example. The skeletal meshes are here, and here's Pliohippus. Or wait, no, it was Brinosuchus that had the control rig. Yeah, so here's the control rig and all the controls that go along with it. What it used to do is it used to move the entire IK rig in a really natural way whenever one of the IK joints moved. But since I have it bound to all these things now, it theoretically would move the feet and the body to accommodate for the terrain. So if you're going up a hill, the whole body would sort of slant up the hill in alignment to the ground, which would have been cool, but it doesn't work. And here's the backwards solve. This is how I would have baked the IK bones into an animation so that we would have the IK driven by actual bones that had animation. Because you can't bake animation into controls, but you can bake it into bones. So that's how I would have done it. And just to prove that you can't actually move the rig like this, I moved it like that and it didn't move. And on to the next thing. Let's do animal. Alright, so say you're doing nothing, right? Or actually, let's first start with stat gen. So here's begin play. You gen stats based if you're a carnivore or herbivore. I have the same blueprint parent class for all of my characters except the eagle, because the eagle has to have flying logic, which I didn't admittedly have time to implement or understand how I would do it. Ran out of time. But it was tacked on to the end because my instructor thought I needed to add more stuff to the project because I wasn't really doing enough art stuff, I guess. Didn't seem like it had enough volume. But here is all the stuff. Here we have hunger and thirst, or hunger and hunger, depending on if you're a carnivore or herbivore. And it also changes the color of all your print strings so that you can tell if the carnivores are having carnivore behavior and what they're doing at that specific moment. And then we have the food web rating. You get an extra 20 food web rating, which is these characters size each other up, determining if they can eat other things or not. So a horse generally has a lower food web rating than, say, a terror bird because a terror bird is more dangerous. So I give it 20 extra. So that also gives you a scale of what how food web ratings are calculated. And food web ratings also go up as you level up. However, horses always ignore other horses because horses aren't dangerous to other horses, at least in this game. However, predators always check if they can eat the other predator and if they're hungry, for starters. But that's later on. Here's walk speed. It goes from level 100, I guess, meters a second. No, that's too fast. 100 centimeters a second to 200 centimeters a second. And then that sets max walk speed. And then health is set. Here we're setting damage so that the AI can do damage to things that are close to them. Here we have attack speed. Gender. Maturity level. That's why I said everything can go up to level 18 to 22, I think, is their max of age. Oh, here we go. It's 20 to... Oh, wait. What? Oh, I must have set... Oh, these are variables that I set on each individual character. So, even though this says animal, there's... For instance... This is the blueprint for Brinosuchus. So here's all the variables that I have made over the course of the project. They're not really organized in any particular way, but if I look in here for of age, oh, so they can cap out at anywhere from 0 to 20. Oh, I must have changed the original variable at some point, because that should be much higher for the minimum of age. Because you want stuff to cap out at a higher age. Oh wait. Yeah, that's what's going on. But back to this. Set project progress bar and stats. Here we have energy reserve. And mature is set once you've reached the age that is the of age variable. And then you set, every character is set to 0.2 scale. And that's because they need to have a child state and then an adult state. And the adult state is reached when you cap out at your of age or maturity level. And then here we have the text color set at the beginning to determining if you're a predator or a herbivore. And then here we have a timer event, or a timer and event, that's set off every 1 second, and I use that to basically drive every stat in the game that these AI possess. So I guess let's start off with leave footprints. Leaves a footprint, gives the footprint a carnivore or herbivore stat to determine if you should follow them if you're a carnivore or herbivore. It imprints the self onto the footprint, or by the self I mean the person who left the footprint has its blue object reference set into the footprint so that anyone can find the player eventually if they see the footprint of the player that they left behind. And then here we have the footprint array. So these footprints delete themselves eventually as they grow larger in number. And then we make an array out of that if it's larger than 10. Oh wait, no, we wipe the array if it's larger than 10. So every 10 seconds the array is cleansed. Health restore. This checks if your hunger or thirst is above the threshold of hunger or thirst that you can regen health after achieving. So if you're not hungry or thirsty, you regen health automatically. And then that also drives this, which is remember last food or drink eaten. So if you realize that you're extremely hungry or thirsty, you remember the last place that you drank or ate at, and you just go there. And if you're a predator, you just go back to the drink or watering hole and see if anything pops up there, if you're desperate enough. And then here is wander aimlessly, the key core script to the game, where they check if they have a footprint that they are going to collide with if they generate a path in to. So like they find a random spot within the radius that I set, which they wander in, and if the wandering path crosses over a spot that they've been already, they won't go there. So I'm pretty proud of this script. It looks terrible, but I'm an artist, so what can you expect? And then here's animate horse. And then this checks if I'm hungry or thirsty. And then here's the variable stomach desperate, which is the variable that way up here I check for at some point. Oh no, it's way over here, I think. I mean, I probably used it somewhere, but here's the target perception. So anything that you see, including plants and water and animals, is thought of here. So if you see an animal, is it your specific type of animal, or is it a predator? If it's a predator, then avoid it, unless you're a predator, and then if you're the same type of predator, and then if you're above the certain age to reproduce, and if you're not hungry or thirsty, you follow the reproduction line. And then this checks if the enemy is stronger than you, if you're choosing to eat it. And then this is the attack script where you just run towards the enemy, and it checks if you're not needing to do anything else. And then this is the runaway script, which if you see an enemy and it's stronger than you, then run away. And then this is are you hungry or thirsty? If you're hungry, then the hunger threshold, and you're hungry in the first, and then it checks if you're thirstier or hungrier. It'll keep track of that, and that's useful later on in this script. And then this plugs in if you don't see an animal, then it checks if you're hungry or thirsty. This is right here. So this function is called, and it leads right here. And then this track footprints is called if you're not hungry or thirsty. And then this is the hungry or thirsty result. So this checks if you were hungry or thirsty in particular, and then depending on if you're hungry or thirsty, you follow the food or you follow the water. And it leads you down these paths. And then it sets the variables, or it checks if you're in pursuit or if you're a carnivore for drink. And if you're either one of those, then you do something else instead. Presumably pursuing meat, I guess, if you're a carnivore and you're thirsty. Or hungry and you're chasing something. Because water is like something that you'll probably find no matter what. But actual quarry or prey is something that you probably want to find more frequently. So that's what you'll be doing. But you'll only be doing that if you're hungry in the first place. And then this retrievable delay, the resource resets its priority every time it triggers. So that means only when you see a resource is it valuable. If you can't see it anymore, then it isn't valuable. But also ignore all of the resources if you're pursuing a resource that you need. And in that way, you should theoretically do what an animal would do in that situation logically. And it prints the string found drink, and then it chooses the favorite drinking spot depending on where you are at that moment. So this is obviously if it's just a renewable water or drinking resource, but that would be if you're stomach desperate in that other line of thought or script. And then here's if you find a plant, then pursue that plant but only if it's fruiting. If it's not a fruiting plant, then don't pursue it. And of course, it's the resource thing from earlier. And then it sets your favorite food because you want to memorize where all the plants are. This obviously wouldn't work in real life because plants don't renew themselves that often. However, I don't think that would be too much of an issue for a game like this, especially since it's so small. Ideally, you would have like a huge server with lots of creatures on it, but I feel like that would be a bit laggy. So this is just a small simulation, and that's all it tries to be. And then here, I think this checks... What is this checking for? Oh, this is if you're looking for a corpse. Yeah, so all the way back here, it checks if you're a carnivore, and if you are, then if you're hungry, then you should be looking for a corpse instead of for sage plants. But you'll only usually find a corpse if you're not if you killed it yourself. So that's usually how it works. But if you have a corpse, then choose the corpse over pursuing prey. So that's how that is working. And then this is track footprints. So you get all the is it in pursuit? Can it see a resource? Are you on are you running from an enemy? It checks if none of these things are true. Because if you're doing any of those things, you shouldn't be looking at footprints and doing anything related to tracking. You should be running or just doing whatever else. And then it does this thing once, so it doesn't keep looking at the same footprint or like just looking at footprints all day or the same footprint. And then it cycles through the footprints to or I guess it checks if the footprint isn't your own, and then it checks if it checks if you're a carnivore, and then you pursue the footprint regardless, I guess. And then it prints the string tracking. So that's that. This destroys you if you have no health. If you're an AI. And then it turns you into ragdoll by simulating physics. And then it generates this sphere, this nice sphere for you to collide stuff with. I guess I should change this to pawn or custom collider. Yeah, I have to have everything as custom, otherwise it doesn't detect whether you're supposed to be harvesting anything from it in a box trace, because all my box traces only see pawns. I deliberately did that so I would have something to bring that up and talk about that with. So then it gets the profile of this collision, and then it sets your scale to 111 because the ragdolls don't work if you're a resized pawn, which is unfortunate. However, it wouldn't make so much of a difference if I had more models for the same creature as it was growing up. However, since I only have the one model, it just didn't work out that well. So everything grows exponentially as soon as it dies, because the ragdolls won't work. And then it just does that once, so you're not doing that all the time. And then it destroys the actor and sets internal food to whatever level you were previous to your death. And it does that actually over here. So each level you gain another internal food packet that you can give to whoever eats you after you die. And leveling up gives you a whole bunch of other stuff if you're an AI. Like, it increases your maturity level depending on if you're of age. and then maturity level +1. Yeah. And then it gives you more size. So it increases your size by 0.036. And then it sets your character movement higher by this amount, potentially, since it's a random float in a range. And then it sets your health, or I guess it doesn't set your health to, or it doesn't give you more health, but it does increase your health, I thought. No, I guess it doesn't increase your health. Which I guess is a feature of the protagonist, so now I should include it here. But we're not going to do that now. So this is leveling up. Here's the text. And then it increases your hunger threshold. So this is how much food you can fit in your stomach. Here's the reproduce script. So if you collide with a character, determine what your relationship is with it, and then either reproduce, kill it, or ignore it. And that's basically what you're doing. And then this basically just checks if you're a predator and you're hungry, and then you attack the other thing and eat it for a percentage. If that's true. And that's about it for that. Briefly glancing over the other things. Here's the options menu. Here's what it looks like. Here's a footprint script. Oh, it's just a lifespan. So that and it has a bunch of variables too, like important things like self blueprint and track owner and carnivore. Just bools to keep track of who placed it and what their relationship with the other creatures in the ecosystem is. Here's blueprint destination. So this would check if your destination matches your footprint previously left. So make sure you're headed in a new direction. This doesn't have any other variables. But I set it as larger than the footprint because footprints should be small and destinations should check over a large area. Here is Titanus player. So this is the player character. I added a bit more stuff to, like, whichever is in the dark boxes here, I added to the UE5 character as like an extension. So here's like all the base stats generated. It's basically all the same stuff as the AI. Like, I'll just briefly go over it. And then here is the attacking, so make sure you're not doing an attack while you're doing an attack. So like no animation cancels. But as soon as you stop attacking, you can do another attack. So it just doesn't mess up the animation, basically, is what this means. And then here's slow walk. So if you're slow walking, you'll do fine. You'll be stealthy eventually. I haven't added stealth yet. And then here's on beak hit. So if you attack, you do a box cast from the arrow here. Here's what the box cast function is. It basically looks at all these variables. It checks if the box cast can see a pawn. The reason it checks if it's a pawn is I was getting issues where the terrain was being confused for something that you would actually want to see. So you can no longer see the terrain, which is good. And this gets the world rotation and just plugs a bunch of variables into Boxcast. And then this checks if you're seeing an animal, and then show their health bar and stuff. By seeing an animal, I mean like hitting an animal, because this is the attack comment. And then here's the eat drink comment. So this checks if you're hitting or eating something. So this checks if there's like you're drinking water. This checks if you're eating an animal, and the animal has to have internal food for you to eat it. So if the animal has no meat, then you can't eat it anymore. And I think so far internal food is only a stat for you. So other AI can eat an animal and it won't get rid of any of their... Let's see. It would be here. Or no, it would be here? Yeah, so the AI doesn't care. It'll just eat forever if it kills something. Which, they were running out of food extremely fast, so that's why it is set up like that. And here we have another cast for the eagle, because the eagle isn't an animal like the AI animals are. So the eagle is a separate one because it can fly. And it has different logic. And then this is deduct hunger and thirst. So it deducts it after a delay. And then here's level up. So you have basically every stat from the previous one, except it also does call the stat menu up, which is called level up UI. And do I have it here? Or wait, oh, I guess I can't zoom in to it, but it is close. So if we go into menus, level up, EP level up, here's level up UI. It's just pretty simple. You just click on one of these boxes and then this sort of menu feeds stats, which this only levels you up if you're in queue for leveling up. So each time you eat something, each time you eat one internal food of a character, you get another level. And it goes up to your max age, or max of age. So, yeah, I guess that's all you need to see about that. And it obviously hides your mouse cursor after you're done in this menu. But that potentially could be what's messing up my thing later when you get hit by an AI and it gives a pawn collision to you. And you end up flying somewhere else. So yeah, you set that visibility and you only level up if you can level up. And then it gives you the thing leveled up. And then here's UI. I used an animation event. I asked some people on the internet if what the best way was to do this, and they said animation events. That didn't work on the Burrinosuchus or the crocodile because of whatever reason. It basically uses the same scripts, except it just doesn't work. So I ended up just using a timer and bools like I would have done with the rest of them. But who knows? Maybe this is the better way of doing it. I don't know. And then this looks at the camera and what the camera sees, and then it gives a UI of what the enemy stats are. And then it hides it after a little bit. Or no, that's in another script, but this shows it, and then it disappears by itself every couple of seconds. And this is UI player update. So this deducts hunger, thirst, health. Or no, this shows. This fills your stats with actual meaningful values in your UI in the bottom left-hand corner. And then this displays your level and your species name. And then this is the options menu, which is BP options. So yeah, that's this thing. So you can exit to the main menu. You can resume playing. You can adjust the sound, which if I have the logic set up for it. Like I'll show you. Like set sound max override, push sound, and this is the slider, and you put it down to volume, but it just doesn't work, and it has like this massive toll that legs out my PC, and I have a good PC, so who knows why that's going wrong. And then here's the same thing. Here's the Pliohippus. Before it was the Titanus, which is the bird. So this is the horse. Pliohippus is horse. And then, and I didn't mention these things. Here's health regen. It passively regens if your hunger or thirst isn't too low. And then here's your death. If you don't have any health, if you don't have any hunger, if you don't have any thirst, any of those are below the threshold, you die. And then here's Brunasuchus, the crocodile. Here's BP animal base. So every animal has this script in it. What does it do, you ask? It sets the player controller after you start the game as a new creature. And it displays this UI. Here's the main menu. It should set full screen mode, but doesn't. I don't know why. And that's it. Thank you for listening to this entire thing.